evening, everyone, and happy Sunday. I know I'm not here at my usual time. I had a schedule adjustment, and thank you to the wonderful folks at Swagger. They were kind enough to accommodate my request. So, regardless of the time, it's still the fitness segment. So thank you for waiting for me. If you didn't and you are not able to tune in, be sure to catch me later on this week in the broadcast. Now, what we're going to talk about today is a question that I often hear from a lot of my clients as well as students who are concerned about embarking on a new fitness journey. Because I understand that when you're starting out on a new fitness journey, it can be scary. You can have a lot of questions because in order to reach your goals, this requires you to change. This requires you to give up the things that you hold near and dear to your heart. So I understand the hesitancy that comes with wanting to change because change is never easy. And with changing comes a loss of bad habits in replace for good habits. And so when you're embarking on these different things, you want to make sure that you are as informed as possible. And one thing that I want to encourage you to include in your meal plan, well, two, rest. Always include rest in your fitness plan. And two, also include a cheat meal. And the way I see a cheat meal is that is your safety valve for all the work that you're putting into your diet. Your cheat meal, again, should be a safety valve for your diet. Because if you spend 6 days out the week planning your portions, exercising, hey, how you doing? Planning your portions, planning your diet, putting your calories on your tracker, exercising, reaching your goals, drinking your water. As the little mean goes, treat yourself. However, there should be some boundaries with maintaining your plan, because one of the contributing factors why many diets don't always work is because you get frustrated with eating the same thing day in and day out. Because if you're a meal prepper and you have the little bowls every week, you have the little Lunchables, I call them, and you got the chicken, you have your vegetable, you have your protein, you have your vegetable, you have your fruit. And if you're eating the same thing 3 times a day, 6 days a week, you are likely going to burn out from it. Because after a while, you will become frustrated with eating the same thing. And not only do you become frustrated with eating the same thing, it also, if you're not careful, you will be trying to force yourself to eat things you don't like. And so in addition to portion controls, in addition to being mindful of your diet, now you're introducing foods in your diet that you don't like. And those are combinations for giving up on making that transition. But what a cheat meal does, it gives you that one day out the week, that one meal or day, however you choose to. We'll get into that later, where you can exhale and go, oh, this week was worth it. Now, I know you're thinking, do you have a cheat meal? That's my dog in the background, Zoe. Say hey, everybody, to Zoe. Do I have a cheat meal? And the answer is, you know it. And my cheat meal is, because I'm from the South, is catfish. Catfish with some hot sauce. With some greens, macaroni and cheese, and some cornbread. Because that meal right there touches my spirit. It touches my soul. However, the trade-off to that is that if I'm going to have my cheat meal of catfish, macaroni and cheese, greens, maybe some sweet potato casserole, and some cornbread, my trade-off is I have to stay diligent on my course. And that has to be your commitment to yourself, almost as a reward, because your cheat meal is a strategy to keep you on track. It is something that I said, it releases the safety valve in making sure you're not starving yourself. Because one thing I try to do with all my clients and students is to put a space in there where I'm checking in on you to make sure that you're doing the right thing and that you're eating. Because we're in a space where if you're not careful on social media, it is like, especially have like they call Fitspo, fitness inspiration. It is very heavily driven on your physical appearance. And depending on who you follow, they may show somebody with this, just for a female, with this whittled down little bitty waist, protruding bottom side, and then you sit there and you go, goals. That's what I'm going to be like. But you don't always realize with some of the influencers that you see, they are photoshopped. They have coordinated with a photographer or a respective app that they're using, and they've whittled down their waist to something that's unrealistic. They have carved down their stomach to something that's unrealistic. And in some cases, they've enhanced their backsides to something that's unrealistic. And so what ends up happening is that you're idolizing something that's not even realistic, and you're calling it goals. And so then you end up sitting here almost to a point of starvation and setting unrealistic goals for yourself to look like Jessica Rabbit, the cartoon character from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I said what I said. And so what this day does is that it gives you a chance to do a stop and figure out, am I on the right track? Because we're in a space that, because social media can paint such an unrealistic picture of people, that I am concerned that we will have this next generation coming up with disordered eating effects. When I say disordered eating, the anorexia, the bulimia, anything that they are so jaded in trying to achieve a goal that's not realistic. And so when you can get a cheat meal in, when you can have a balanced diet, a successful diet is a program, a healthy lifestyle, I will say, is that you have a balance of fitness, food, fun, and faith, because all things work together. And so anytime you have so much focus on fear of food, then that formula is out of balance. I don't want you to fear food. I don't want you to fear enjoying your life. I don't want you to sit here in such a hyper state of concern that you don't eat. And so, like I said from the beginning, let me scroll back up to my notes, that your your cheat meal is your safety valve to enjoy something. Now, my cheat meal, I just said it, was catfish. Now, ideally, because I'm from Mobile, Alabama, if you could give me some fish and grits, I will be happy. Fish and grits is what it does. It makes me happy. But understand, there's a contract to myself. And so in your looking for your planning for your cheat meal or your cheat day, there comes a balance of holding yourself to a sense of accountability, or to a workout buddy, to say that I have done the things Monday through Friday that I'm supposed to. And so then on Saturday, I'm going to treat myself to a meal. For me, I have a cheat meal. Now, there are some people, they have a cheat day. There are other people that they have a cheat weekend. But the danger of that is that it's easy to backslide. It's easy to start moving the finish line further and further, because you will tell yourself, well, I had a binge weekend last weekend and I was able to maintain my weight. So I'm in a good space. And so then you move the finish line. And then the concern is that you may abandon your goals altogether. That slippery slope is easy to do. And I know it to be so because we saw it last year with the pandemic, that many of us felt that, I'm in a good enough place so I can cut back. But then now that we're trying to go back outside, now you see all the memes and the announcements said pressure applied, because now it's time to get back on track. And your cheat meal is that thing. It's almost like if you have little kids and if you want them to go potty, not to say these two are the synonymous, that if you, in order to get them to go potty train, you give them a treat. You say, if you go do this, I'll give you this. That cheat meal is your reward to yourself, to say that I have done a great job and staying the course. And this safety valve is going to give me a chance to focus again. Let's see what I have in my notes. I talked about that. I talked about that. I talked about that. Now, one thing you need to be considerate of is your current program and knowing how you work, because everyone's cheat meal is different. Everyone's body's different, and everyone's goals are different. I saw the picture one time where Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, posted his cheat meal, and his cheat meal was the equivalent of what I eat in a whole week. But he is in a space where he is a top trained athlete and probably works with some of the best trainers of the world to moderate his diet. So you can't look at what somebody else is doing and then try to compare their journey. One strategy that may benefit your diet is to work on 1 or 2 cheat foods. And that's the method that I find works more for me. I do cheat foods. And like I said, my cheat food is the fish and that meal. I do cheat foods. And once I have my little cheat moment, I'm good for the rest of the week. After that cheat meal, I go back to my salads. I go back to my portions. I go back to regularly scheduled program, because that's how you learn to break up the monotony. Because when you're making your transition to a healthy lifestyle, you don't want to become obsessed with trying to eat the right thing all the time. And I'm telling you from experience, I've had clients to do that, where they became so obsessed with eating that they didn't eat, if that makes sense. They became so obsessed with trying to do the right thing, they made the process more stressful than it really was. And eventually they burned themselves out because they were trying to eat the same thing 3 times a day, 7 days a week. Now, I'm here to tell you, eating that same meal 21 times in a week will break anyone. So when you're even planning your diet, when you're even doing the meal prepping, again, this is what works for me. I don't meal prep for 7 straight days worth of meals. I meal prep for 3. And so I meal prep from Sunday to Wednesday, stop, and then plan out from Wednesday to Saturday. That is how I plan out my meals, because I don't want to get burned out. I tried to eat the same meal for 5 days, and I failed miserably. So my compromise is Monday through Wednesday, I know what I'm having. Wednesday, switch it up. Saturday, light breakfast, cheat meal, back to my scheduled programming. That is how I frame my thing. And then Sunday, I'm back in rotation. Unless I'm on the road, it's very rare that I break the program. Why? Because I know what works for me. I know what works for my body. I know what works for my system. And I know what works for my schedule. Because Monday through Friday, Sunday through Thursday are my heavy days. When I say heavy, most intense in exercise. So I make sure my meals match what I'm doing. Come the weekend, I slack off. And when I say slack off, I cut back my intake to match my activity. So of course, by default, my cheat meal pretty much becomes my intake for the day. So when you're looking at this gives you a great way to stay on track. For example, as I have in my notes, if you know you got a birthday party or another social event coming up at the end of the week, plan your cheat meal around that day. So if you know you're going to a party, you're going to a dinner party, and they're going to have cake, they're going to have mimosas, they're going to have all this activity, plan your meals accordingly. So then that way you don't have cheat day Friday, cheat day Saturday, cheat day Sunday, and then you go into the week guilty. And what happens when you go into the week guilty, when you go into the week frustrated, it frames the context in which you enter your approach to exercise. Because when you're going into an approach of looking at exercise from a space of frustration and guilt, you are least likely to stick with it because you're looking at exercise then as a sense of punishment. And exercise is not punishment. Now, I will also say this before I go. If you know you're going to have a cheat meal or however you position your day, and then turn around and say, now I have to go burn this off, that is not the intention of a cheat meal. The cheat meal is supposed to give you that day to just exhale. I schedule my cheat meal around to have lunch or dinner with my bestie. So then that way it's framed in a good space. It's not framed as, oh my God, I wouldn't have chicken tenders and fries. Oh, now I got to go run for an hour to run off these fries. That's not the intention. And you should never look at food with the intention of having to punish yourself with exercise. That is a narrative that has been floating around forever, and that is not your entry point to exercise. Because what happens is when you look at exercise as a punishment, you will not enjoy it. The same way with your diet. If you're fixated on doing this as a punishment, you're not going to understand the transition. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be laborious. I've been waiting to use that word all day. That's in my word of the day in the dictionary. Laborious. Laborious. Rhymes with notorious from the B.I.G. Oh, I'm back. Focus. So when you're having those moments and you're looking at food from this space of saying, I have to do this and torture yourself, because I never want you, when you're planning for your diet, to feel like torture. This is not torture. This is making healthy choices for you, your family, and everyone that impacts. Right. You know, I'll drift off in a song, Miss Antoinette. You know, I have a million songs in my head, and sometimes they leak out. I can't help it, y'all. I have so many songs in my head. They just leak out sometimes because I'm laborious. Got it back in. And so back. So when you're looking at food, you don't want to become frustrated, because your purpose, your ministry, your goals in life are tied to all of us that know you. And when you don't understand how much your food choices and your health impact others, then it's easy to give up on yourself, because all of us connected to each other have something to contribute. You have a purpose. There was a problem that existed in this world that God knew he could trust you with to solve it. He gave us all a solution to this problem in this world. And in order for you to provide us a solution, you need to be sound mentally, physically, and emotionally. And that can only happen when you change the narrative of your life and decide to fight for your fitness. And so when you have your cheat meal, I hate the phrase cheat meal, but when you have this little moment of celebration, that's your reward for all the hard work you're doing. So Monday through Saturday, when you're knocking it out, that one little meal is your reward for recognizing your dedication. Now, like I said, it's easy to fall off the wagon. And one of the concerns that I do have when I encourage my clients to have cheat meals is that you don't binge eat that day. And with binge eating, you never know when you get full. And when you're in that space, there's some underlying emotional eating or some emotional problems that are existing. So if you do find yourself binge eating, I encourage you to be mindful of when those moments are happening and identify which emotion is attached to it. So as I draw to a close, your cheat meal should be your safety valve for eating a healthy plan during the week. It should be where you're giving yourself a mental break from all the meal prepping that you're doing. Starvation is not a diet, so I don't encourage you to starve yourself during the week. I will say if you've never had a cheat meal before, start with cheat foods. So if your cheat food is ice cream, let that be your cheat food. If your cheat food is M&Ms or a Hershey bar, I'm not sponsoring them, but if that's your cheat meal, let that be your cheat meal. And that's fine because that's your safety valve. But more than anything, make sure that you do have a safety valve in place to prevent you from becoming obsessive about your diet. And then with obsession becomes frustration. And then eventually with frustration, you throw the whole thing away because you will tell yourself it's not worth the hassle. And in that aspect, it is not. But what is worth the hassle is that you're living a healthy, whole, balanced life where you're factoring in your faith, your family, your fitness, your food, and then everything else. As you see, food was at the bottom because in order to live a life and a life more abundantly, it's about having a well-rounded balance. And overall, that is what a cheat meal is for you to have balance to your life. Again, thank you for the hour delay. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you have not incorporated a cheat meal, sit down and plan one out next week. Do I plan my cheat meal in advance? Yes. I know on Monday what I'm having Saturday. So that means Monday through Friday, I stay the course. Have a great week. And if you are in a space where you need assistance with meal prep and nutrition assistance, please feel free to reach out to me. Not only am I certified personal trainer, but I am also a certified nutrition coach. So if you are in need of assistance with understanding what will benefit you and how to get started, you know you can reach out to me. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and I will see y'all next week. Go be laborious. Bye, y'all.